My sermon this morning is called Embracing Diversity. The scripture reading is from the book of Genesis, chapter 11, verses 1 through 8. Now the whole earth spoke one language and with one manner of speech. And it came to pass, as men journeyed from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them with fire." And they had bricks for stone and slime for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top may reach the heaven. And let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad the face of the whole earth." And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which men were building. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language, and they have reason to do this thing, and now nothing will prevent them from doing that which they have imagined to do. Come, let us go down and there divide their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad from there upon the face of all the earth, and they ceased from building the city. Thus ends the reading of the scripture. Now, as metaphysicians, we interpret the Bible symbolically, not literally. And sometimes we really need to think about the symbolic meaning of certain scriptures. But I think it's pretty clear what this passage is telling us, and that is that we're not all meant to be the same. God did not want us to all be the same. This story in Genesis is a perfect example of attempted unity, people working together to become one. But as you can see from the ending of this scripture, God did not want this. God did not want them to be all one people, all speaking the same language, all living in the same city. God deliberately changed their plans and scattered them all over the face of the earth, which caused them to cease from building their planned city. God caused them to live in separate places and speak separate languages. God did not want them to all look the same, act the same, be the same. God was forcing diversity. This story in Genesis can teach us a lesson about the power of unity. People, cities, and even an entire country can be unified together, whether for good or bad. Now, the people building the city may not have intended it to be for bad, wrongful purposes. It seemed to them to be the right thing to do at the time. If you have unity and agreement amongst the people, you can accomplish just about anything. And maybe sometimes the intentions of the parties are not really what they ought to be, knowingly or unknowingly. There is power in unity. When a governing authority, for example, exerts control over the people by telling them what to believe, dictating how they are to dress, and enforcing how they are to act, this can be very destructive. When there is this type of control over people, over time, individuals begin to lose their identity. And as we read in today's scripture, God did not want to take away the people's individual identity. God wanted people to be scattered across the earth, speaking different languages and behaving differently. It is God's intention to bring us individually together in unity, but not take away our differences in the process. This is because God has made each of us different, each of us unique in our own way, with different personalities and ideas and fingerprints. It's about keeping this individuality, yet working together in unity to become one. Take these flowers on the altar as an example. Each one is different, a different color, a different size, different shape. Each has a different scent. Each was likely grown in a different garden, a different state, maybe even a different country. But together, they make one beautiful bouquet. We sit here and admire their beauty and give thanks for what makes them so unique. You could say that we are embracing their diversity. There was once a second grade teacher who gave an assignment to her class for students to bring in an item from home that represented their religious background. She wanted to teach the kids about the diversity in the world, about worshiping God. At show and tell time, they began to share what their particular item meant to their faith. A Catholic child brought some rosary beads in and shared with the class how they used the beads in prayer. There was a Native American child who brought in a dream catcher. He taught the class how to place dream catchers above their head and capture their dreams that they had at night. He said it would filter out the bad ones and hold the good ones in their memory. A Jewish child brought in a candle and shared how it was used to celebrate Hanukkah. And then there was the kid who reached down and pulled some food out of his backpack. He said, "I'm Southern Baptist and I brought in a chicken casserole." These were the items that represented their religious backgrounds. And it's true, they certainly all represented diversity. So where do we at AMC fit in? I'd like to think that we're a nice combination of all of these religious backgrounds. We believe in protecting the environment, caring for the poor, forgiving those that need to be forgiven, including ourselves, rejecting racism, fighting for the powerless, sharing earthly and spiritual resources with our fellow man, knowing right from wrong, believing in the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, taking responsibility for our choices and knowing that we create our own happiness or unhappiness in life as we live by natural laws. We believe that all persons are created equal. We teach loving God, specifically the God within. And I'd like to add to this, without even having to think about it, we're pretty good at embracing diversity, which is what the second grade teacher was attempting to teach her class. Now, what does embracing diversity really mean? Embracing diversity means we not only acknowledge the reality of our differences, but we celebrate them and view them as a manifestation of God's creative design for humanity. We are called to resist efforts to make everyone conform to one type of person. Instead of forcing conformity or excluding difference, we are to respect and celebrate the distinctiveness God has created within this complex, colorful, and amazing human race that we are all a part of. We are all created in the image and likeness of God. We are all loved by God, and we are all loved as God. Loving our neighbors means not being afraid of one another. We need to proclaim to the world that we are truly not a threat to one another. In fact, we are called to do the opposite, to move towards one another, to be reconciled, to care for the welfare of others, to welcome the stranger, and feed the hungry. Embracing diversity means understanding that each individual is unique and that we are to recognize and celebrate our individual differences. These can be along the dimensions of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, age, physical abilities, religious beliefs, or other ideologies. Embracing diversity offers diverse perspectives and engenders innovation by bringing together different people's strengths and points of view. It's something that helps businesses embrace new ideas and accommodate different styles of thinking. It's important to embrace diversity because it helps dispel negative stereotypes and personal biases about different groups. In addition, cultural diversity helps us recognize and respect ways of being that are not necessarily our own, so that as we interact with others, we can build bridges to trust, respect, and understand each other. Embracing diversity helps people come in contact with different cultures, traditions, languages, and helps us develop new ideas and perceptions. It helps us gain new experiences, thus resulting in the interactions amongst people becoming stronger. So how can we, as a church community, embrace diversity? Well, sometimes embracing diversity means talking about our differences. And there are multiple ways that we proudly embrace these differences at AMC. We have different age groups. We embrace young people and middle-aged people and older people, baby boomers, Generation Xers, millennials, and whatever comes after that. We have different races. The color of our skins are black, brown, and white. We respect different sexual orientations, straight, gay, LGBTQ folks. All are welcome here at AMC. We represent different occupations. Some of us are professional workers, some blue-collar workers. There are government employees, employees of private businesses. Some are healthcare workers, self-employed artists, retired or semi-retired individuals. We have different geographical backgrounds. Some of us come from big cities, some from small towns, some from the East Coast, the West Coast, some domestic, and some are even from foreign countries. Our membership is comprised of different people from all walks of life, and that's a really good thing. And I'd like to add that embracing diversity doesn't always mean talking about our differences. Sometimes it means staying silent. Here in our church community, we have both liberals and conservatives, Democrats and Republicans, who are each very passionate about their politics. And sometimes it's best that we just leave that outside. That's not who we are. It's a political belief that we choose to subscribe to. And it's perfectly okay that we don't all share the same opinions. An important question in embracing diversity is this: how does this affect us as a church? Who are we and who do we want to be when it comes to embracing diversity? Maybe more importantly, what is the church? What constitutes the true meaning of a church? A church is its people. It's a group of individuals that come together to share a common interest, a common bond. Doesn't matter what the people look like or where they come from. All that matters is that they show up. They come together in unity, all the individual diverse people coming together as one. I think that now, perhaps more than ever, we need unity in our world. And at the same time, we need to embrace the diversity of everyone that is united. Did you know that the most segregated time of the week occurs on Sunday mornings? All over the world, and also right here in the DC metro area. Our community is filled with white churches, Black churches, and Spanish churches. It's clear that many people purposefully seek churches that most resemble their genetic makeup. There's an element of this that's human nature. We tend to naturally flock toward those who share traditions and backgrounds similar to ours. We seek interaction with those who may be more like us as a way to ensure that we're not rejected. This is where we as metaphysicians stand out. Our belief system attracts people from all walks of life. This helps us be naturally diverse, and Spirit is always calling us to rise above human nature. Now, I recently read a study that stated one of the top reasons people don't go to church is because they don't feel welcome. In fact, it was found that the first 15 minutes 15 minutes of a person's experience determine whether or not they will ever return. Now think about this. Their decision is made even before the minister gives the sermon. It takes the pressure off of me. It's all about the people. People are searching for places where they share a common spiritual belief with others, but where they also feel comfortable in being who they are. No matter the origin of their birthplace or color of their skin, how they're dressed, or what kind of car they drive, they simply want to feel comfortable. I'm proud to say that I firmly believe that we offer this at AMC. Here's the thing. It's easy to reject certain kinds of diversity. It's easy to say, I don't really care for that person, and he's welcome to come to our services, but I'm just going to ignore him during fellowship. And it's easy to tolerate certain kinds of diversity. It's easy to say, that woman is not someone that I care to associate with, but I guess she's allowed to be here. And it's easy to try to overcome certain kinds of diversity. It would be easy to say, why can't that couple just pretend to be like the rest of us? But we're not called to reject diversity or tolerate diversity or overcome diversity. We are called to embrace diversity. We are called to demand that everyone be invited to worship, to walk up to others and ask them about their day, and to invite those that may look differently than us to stand next to us at fellowship. We're called to be reckless in our welcome. We're called to be extravagant in our celebration. And we are called to be warm in our embrace. And that is a big, bold, wild, dangerous, grace-filled thing to do. Thankfully, there are a lot of folks here at AMC that do just this. They do these big, bold, wild, dangerous, grace-filled things. Thank God for them. Can we do more? Sure, we can always do more. But I think we're doing a pretty good job now. So I was finishing up this sermon last night. It occurred to me that usually when a preacher gives the homily, it's to encourage the congregation to make some type of change, to do better, to be better. In this case, I'm not encouraging you to change at all. I'd actually like to thank you for already doing such a great job. We are now, have always been, and I have every reason to believe always will do a great job in embracing diversity. Part of coming to a church is to be with others while being yourself. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being yourself. And thank you for participating in making AMC the wonderful place that it is. Let us thank God for our diversity. We thank God for each of you. And so it is.